Hello guys, what is up? This is Shrimpboyho, and today I'm going to be giving you a tutorial about C++. This tutorial is going to be directed towards people that have had no previous experience whatsoever when it came to programming, and they just want to try it out. So, what I'm going to tell you first of all is that the lessons and the things I'm going to be talking to you about will hopefully set you on the proper course to become a more experienced C++ programmer. And what I'm going to be referencing, and a reference you can use yourself, is a program called C++ in 21 days. You can find it on the internet and get a PDF or just view it online. I'll have a link in the description. But yeah, let's get on to it. So the first lesson you need to learn is that computers can only understand zeros and ones, making it a very impossible task to plug in zeros and ones into your computer and create a program that way. Thus, people have developed languages, programming languages. C++ is an example of a programming language. Now, one term you're going to have to know is called a compiler. A compiler basically will translate your C++ language into the zeros and ones, aka machine code, and thus the computer will be able to understand. So one thing you should know is that no matter how complex you may think C++ programming is, it's far simpler than typing in raw zeros and ones into a computer. There are several compilers you can use, and compilers are necessary if you want to create programs and run them. The compiler I'm going to be showing you is a web-based in-browser compiler called Compiler. It's online, you can sign up for free, and it's good for, your programs are basically stored on the cloud, and it's good for beginners and people that just want to have access to a compiler on the go. There are other compilers you can use, such as Dev C++. That's one you can download, and it's Bloodshed software. I believe that's the developer, but yeah, Dev C++ is a good compiler that you can download and run. And yeah, so once you have your compiler set up and installed, or you could just use the web-based compiler that I'm using, you will be able to program and enter your code in. So now I'm going to be giving you your second main lesson. Basically, there are two things you need to learn. It's about comments and semicolons. Now, comments are not part of the program itself. In fact, they're completely ignored by the compiler. Comments are there so that you, as a programmer, can understand what each part of the program is doing. And if you're going to be sending your program to a third party, they too can understand. Comments come in a variety of forms. There's single-line comments, which are usually initialized by 2 slashes, and there are other forms of comments that I'll show you later. But for now, we'll just be focusing on single-line comments. Now, let's move on to semicolons. What exactly are the semicolons? Semicolons do nothing but let the compiler know when a C++ statement has ended. So after each statement, don't forget your semicolon. Otherwise, there'll be an error. Speaking of errors, many compilers have a tool called a debugger, which basically finds out all the errors in your program and gives you the opportunity to fix them. It's a really useful tool, and for beginners, some of the language that debuggers use can be somewhat cryptic. Like, you may not understand what exactly the errors are, but they usually highlight the line that the error is on, and you can usually fix it. And one of the most common errors is usually forgetting the semicolon. So now that we have these two concepts of comments and semicolons down, I can introduce to you the structure of a simple C++ program. The structure of most C++ programs is actually quite simple and can usually be split into 3 subsections. At the top, we usually have a block of comments. The block of comments is nothing more than just a large comment that basically will tell the user what the name of the program is, the file name, what the program's goal is, the description, the author, the revisions, the notes, and the environment that the program is compiled in. Now, it's all, like I said before, just a huge chunk of comments, and it's usually at the top of the program itself. Then after that, we have other areas that are on the next lines. Some of these are the include statement, The include statement will do nothing. It's nothing more than just reference a file. The include statement is usually pound include, then you have the file name. Normally, what this means is that the computer is going to have to reference whatever that file is in order to run your program. That basically means if your program is going to ask for user input and it's going to display user output, then you're going to have to include the file iostream, because iostream is basically the reference file that will basically allow input and output to actually happen in your program. And that's just a brief explanation of what the pound include will do. Usually after that, they have a line that says using namespace std. What this basically does is just make sure variables don't get confused within the program itself. And I'm not going to go much further into using namespace, but if you're a Java programmer, you might probably have an understanding of it. But if not, just know that it's good to have that in your program, because it will stop the confusion of variables. Then after that, you have your functions. There are several types of functions, but all programs need to have a main function. Your main function will basically it's the starting point. Then after that, you can have any other variety of functions you could create. But always remember, the computer will always start at the main function.